You good? Hello Booktube, I'm going to do the Booktube Newbie Tag today. I've got a few videos up, so I thought it was about time I did it. And this is Colin. Question number 1, why did you start this channel? I started this channel because I want to become a lot more familiar with making videos and putting up YouTube videos. I'm actually, in my day job, I am a high school maths teacher here in Oz, and I recognise that that's a necessity for the future of my job, so I want to get more familiar with it. Question number 2, what are some fun and unique things that you bring to Booktube? Well, as I said, I'm a maths teacher, so my forte isn't English. In fact, I say this to people all the time, I passed English exactly once in my life, and that was during my leaving or my university entrance year. The reason behind me really disliking English and it being amazing that I love to read is I'm dyslexic. I am dyslexic, and I've just found out that also means I'm dysgraphic. And the other part being I have an encoding and decoding disorder, so this is where I struggle for my words all the time. So I think that brings a unique perspective to my reading. The other couple of things, I am a massive sci-fi fan, and that doesn't seem to be the most popular sort of thing within the Booktube. If you're out there, if you're a sci-fi person, please contact me. I want to know what your opinions are as well. And I'm also Australian, and that doesn't seem very common either. There are a few. If there's more of you out there, please tell me where you are. But I am going to be trying to focus this year on Australian authors of science fiction, so that would be great. I think that's unique, and I don't know about fun, but definitely different. Question number 3, what are you most excited for about this channel? Oh, connecting with people. I don't have enough people to talk about my reading with. I don't. I have a few people in my life that read. My best friend had children and now doesn't read as much as she used to. So I need more people to tell about the books that I read. Yeah, I want to meet more people who read and more opinions. Question 4, why do I love reading? That is definitely an interesting question for me, because I struggle to read, or I still struggle to read. I read a lot better than I used to, but I'm someone who loves a challenge. So even as a little kid, I loved a challenge, and I grew up in a house full of books. So this that you see behind you, not unusual in the houses I grew up in. I wanted to read. So I fought against the whole dyslexic people don't read thing, because my dad was a dyslexic person who read profusely as well. And because it was a challenge and because it was so hard, that's why I love to read. What book or book series got you into reading? Now, I technically cite 2. I'll go with the lesser one first. She was an Australian author. She has died now, but I came across this book in my library at high school, and it had prime numbers, it had maths, and it was fantasy, and it was set in a Egyptian style world, hence the pyramid, and I loved it. And look at this was a challenge for me. It set me onto this world of Sarah Douglas's, that years and years later, after having read this book, Threshold, I found she did another trilogy within this world a couple of thousand years later or something, a couple of hundred years later. But this book got me into fantasy. This was fantasy. My sci-fi, and this is my number one. This is probably one, other than my puppy, this is my number one top possession. You're right? I'm sorry. Number one top possession, and it was a birthday present for a big birthday. My partner got me, was this. I read this when I was in maybe first year high school, and the humor just got me. It's one of the very few books that I have ever read that made me laugh out loud. I used to have to leave the house, and I lived on a farm, so go out into the paddock so I could laugh my absolute arse off at the intricate worlds that Douglas made. I can't even tell you how much I love this book. Hence, for my birthday a couple of years ago, and this is why it's my prized possession, I got a signed edition. And this, we've had fires threaten the house. I came home, grabbed the dog, my Doctor Who scarf that I made, and this book. These were the three things I was going to pull out of our house if it was going to burn down. Okay? He was first. He really was. This came a very close second. So those are the books that got me into reading. And I'm all excited now. Question number 6. What questions would you ask your favourite booktubers? I would ask them, now my favourite booktubers, one of the first ones that I started watching, only a few months ago I've started looking at Booktube. One of the first ones that I started watching was Savage Reads, and I like his accent, and I like the way he's very blunt about things, but then coy and sort of backpedaling about it. Some of his books are my sort of books, but not all of them. Kitty G, I found her very recently, and she reads like I do. There's lots of fantasy, there's little bits of sci-fi. She recommended a book, The Theatre of Gods, that I straight away went and ordered because she said it was a mixture of Douglas Adams and Terry Pratchett, and I'm looking forward to reading that. My question would be, who else should I follow? Who else should I follow? The ones that I like, I know it sort of ends up being like a sounding board, but I want those recommendations like A Theatre of Gods. So that would be what I would ask. Question number 7. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be hardest to overcome? I thought editing my own stuff, editing my own voice and editing myself talking would be one of my biggest challenges. It's turned out not to be, simply because I'm so involved in what I'm talking about that it doesn't worry me at all. Also, on iMovie that I use to edit, it's kind of up in the corner, so you don't really see it all the time. You're sort of concentrating on the sound clips at the bottom, knowing where to cut it. I think the main challenge is going to be getting the bandwidth to upload things, because I live in Oz, where our internet is crap. When did I start reading? I honestly don't remember when I started reading. I do know it was a challenge. I know for a fact my mum used to read to us as kids. There was always books around. I remember reading Enid Blyton books as a kid. I had The Adventures of Pip, which was one of my favourite childhood books, which no one seems to know. Everyone knows the Famous Five and the Faraway Tree. No one seems to know Pip. But I can't really remember actually starting reading. Question number 9, where do you read? I literally read everywhere. I read in bed, at night, on my Kindle. Yes, I do read Kindle because I read everywhere. And I need to read it to fall asleep. I read on the couch, I read in my library, I read everywhere, to the point where I have a watch that can, a Pebble watch that connects with my phone. I worked out how to put books on my phone to be on my watch so I could read during assemblies. People think I'm asleep. It's fine. I'd rather think they were asleep than waste my time in assemblies and meetings. Sorry. I also listen to audiobooks whenever I'm driving. Yeah, everywhere. Everywhere. Lastly, and question number 10, what kind of books do you like to read? These ones. These ones. Pretty obviously from the my name, it's sci-fi and fantasy. I do read a tiny little bit of crime and mysteries. I read a fair bit of classics. Like, I'm doing my read along at the moment for War and Peace, and I read a bucket ton of graphic novels, and I've started doing a little bit of Marvel DC because I love Harley Quinn, but mainly I like the off-the-wall type things. So yeah, that's my Booktube Newbie Tag. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you like the way I'm going with this and want to see more, hit the subscription button below. If you've got any questions about anything I discussed in this video, including my dyslexia and how I deal with that, hit me up with the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you again soon. Bye!